Statistics is an indispensable tool for national development, growth, and planning. It is an important tool a good government uses for proper planning, monitoring, and evaluation of development programs and projects, as well as arrives at critical decisions in line with government policies. The historical evolution of today's National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) under the young, energetic Dr. Yemi Kale, former Statistician General of the NBS, dates back to the pre-independence era. This could be phrased into the early stage, which started from 1928 to 1957, the development stage between 1957 to 1988, the reorganization and consolidation stage between 1988 and 2007, as well as the achievements of the National Bureau of Statistics between 2011 and 2021. The National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) was established by Statistics Act of 2007 as an agency responsible for the production and management of official statistics in Nigeria. The Bureau provides comprehensive, timely, relevant, reliable, and user-focused statistical information relating to the social and economic life as well as condition of the inhabitants of Nigeria. NBS collaborates with all the tiers of governments and their respective agencies in the production of administrative statistics. It coordinates statistical orderliness and promotes the general use of statistical products. Nigeria's statistical journey started in 1928 as a statistical unit in the office of the Colonial Secretary during the British colonial administration. In 1947, a more focused reorganization took place with the establishment of the Statistical Section in the Department of Customs and Excise, which later metamorphosized into a full-fledged Department of Statistics. At independence in 1960, the Department of Statistics was moved from Customs and Excise to Ministry of Finance and later to the Federal Ministry of Economic Development, with its name changed to Federal Office of Statistics (FOS), a process that signaled the reformation of the statistics ecosystem in Nigeria. In 1989, precisely 29 years after the creation of the FOS, a wholly computerized data management agency was established and called the National Data Bank (NDB). By the declaration of the Federal Executive Council in 2004, the then Federal Office of Statistics was renamed National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), which was a product of a merger between the Federal Office of Statistics and the National Data Bank. NBS existence was given a legal backing with the passing of Statistics Bill and the signing into law of the bill by the then President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo in 2007. Currently, NBS is a parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The NBS, as the apex statistical agency, is expected to coordinate statistical operations of the national statistical system in the production of official statistics in all the federal ministries, departments and agencies, state statistical agencies, and local government areas. The vision of the NBS is to become one of the foremost and modern knowledge-based national statistical office in Africa and indeed the world. It has a mission to generate on a continuous and sustainable basis socio-economic statistics on all facets of development in Nigeria. And of course with a focus to promote statistics as a tool for development planning and evidence-based policy making. The National Bureau of Statistics is responsible for coordinating the national statistics system, advising the federal, state, and local government on all matters related to statistical development, developing and promoting use of statistical standards and appropriate methodology, collecting, compiling, analyzing, interpreting, publishing, and disseminating statistical information alone or in collaboration with other agencies, both government and non-governmental agencies. Developing and maintaining a comprehensive socio-economic database, providing a focal point of contact with international agencies on statistical matters, and fulfilling all other functions relating to statistics which the federal government may entrust to it. In 2011, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, the then Minister for Budget and National Planning, wanted someone to head the NBS. That person must be dynamic, purposeful, and full of vision amongst others, and hence, a young man with an independent mind and person of Dr. Oyeyemi Kale was nominated. His nomination was approved as the Statistician General of the Federation and Chief Executive Officer of the National Bureau of Statistics by the then President Dr. Goodluck Jonathan for a 5-year tenure.
I had a different vision for the for the National Bureau of Statistics. I wanted it to be more dynamic, more productive, and to confront some of the key data issues that we were having in Nigeria. So that was why I nominated Yemi. And to the credit of President Goodluck Jonathan, when I took the proposal to him, he also asked me a question after looking at Yemi's CV. He asked, Shamsuddin, are you sure that he's going to be capable of holding the job? And I said to him, yes, Mr. President, I'm sure he will be capable. And thereafter, he approved the appointment.
Kale's first term was fantastic. He exhibited a superhuman capacity for hard work, doggedness, and deliberate pursuit of world-class national statistical system. After a meritorious first term and based on a sterling performance, transformation leadership, and professionalism to revitalize and rejig the once moribund institution, the then Minister for National Planning and Budget, Senator Udo Udoma, had no hesitation to recommend Dr. Yemi Kale for a second term in office as the Chief Executive Officer of the Bureau. This recommendation was approved by Mr. President, His Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, a feat none of Kale's predecessors have enjoyed.
I recommended Dr. Yemi Kale for a second term because of the quality and the quantity of his output. He was doing very well, so I felt that he should be reappointed, and I so recommended. As the Minister of Budget and National Planning, I had to be sure that I was getting reliable data. There was a general consensus that the government and the general public could rely on the data which was produced by the NBS. Of course, we were not happy whenever some of the economic data suggested that things were not going as well as we hoped or as well as we planned. But that simply forced us to work even harder to improve the performance of the economy. One thing we were always sure about was that if there was a real improvement, the NBS data would show that, because the NBS under Dr. Yemi Kale could be relied on to give us the true economic position.
Dr. Kale's tenure at the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, was a tonic that invigorated an institution that was hitherto known for lethargy and poor performance. Yemi brought a new culture of data integrity, timeliness, credibility, and accuracy to the once error-prone business of national statistics.
Dr. Yemi Kale is a professional to the core. I had worked with Dr. Yemi Kale initially in my capacity as a Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, alongside Senator Udo Udoma, who also found Dr. Yemi Kale's quality of work to be very high. He had every year a clear plan for all the reports and the surveys that NBS is to render and specific timelines for delivery. And without fail, he followed the survey and reporting timelines religiously. And one strong thing, and this is compelling, is that we never interfered with his work, and he never came to ask us for any input that will directly affect his work, except, of course, when he asked for financing to make sure that the surveys are completed. But in terms of the quality of the work, he operated independently. And because of these attributes, the international development institutions that are in the country found comfort in the quality and the independence of the data that he produced, to the extent that he was conducting surveys for the World Bank and IMF and other development institutions in the country. And this is really impressive. If you check what is happening in other countries within the African region, their statistical agencies do not have the kind of confidence that international community have in the data that is produced by our own MBS. So he's done very well. Because he did well during the first time, we didn't have any hesitation recommending him for a second term.
Dr. Oyeyemi Kale is a rare gem, a man of multiple emotional and intellectual universes, and an epitome of excellence.
When I started this job, I told my immediate office that they should come to the office with very light, because for me to do this job very well, I have to be prepared to lose my job. The day I decide that I cannot lose this job, that is the day I will start to compromise and I'll start to do things to ensure I remain on the seat.
Dr. Oyeyemi Kale is a first-class economics graduate of the Addis Ababa University, Ethiopia. He had his second degree in economics with distinction from the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, and a PhD in economics from the same school. He is the son of retired Major General Kale, Nigeria's first woman to ever become a Major General in the Nigerian Army and in any of the three wings of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Prior to his appointment, he was a member of the board of Skybank and Polaris Bank and SFS Capital Nigeria Limited and still remains till date. He was also a special advisor to the then Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Minister of National Planning, as well as the Group Head of Research and Strategy at Investment Banking and Trust Company, now Stanbic IBTC Bank, where he was credited to be largely responsible for the development of investment research in Nigeria.
Oyemi is a great guy. I mean, he's one of the people that you thank God that you came across and you had the opportunity to work closely with them. He came for an interview in IBTC when I was the CEO. And within 5-10 minutes, I had absolutely no doubt that we were going to hire him. It was that easy. It was so simple, because he was obviously very knowledgeable, straightforward, and the kind of personality that we were looking for in IBTC. I mean, to fast forward, he worked with IBTC. He was head of research, in the bank. And many years later, he came forward saying he wanted to leave, not because he was looking for higher pay or anything, but he wanted to serve his country. That was the motivation. And I can tell you also that he took a pay cut to leave IBTC to go and work for the government, something that is very rare, because he wanted to contribute as an economist to Nigeria's development and wanted to see, or for history to judge what he had done for Nigeria. And within a short time in the Nigerian Bureau, when he was head of the NBS, he did a number of things that were path-breaking, including the rebasing of the gross domestic product.
He's an exemplary, extraordinary human being. He's been a fantastic leader, a young leader. He has transformed the fortunes of the MBS, taking it from where it used to be to where it is currently. He's always been outstanding as long as I've known him. We were classmates, schoolmates many years ago. We've been in touch over the course of our careers. And all the time I've known him, he's always stood out as an outstanding human being, extremely intelligent and professional leader, exemplary leader, a person of deep convictions and a lot of integrity, a person who's disciplined but also diligent, a person who's got courage to stand up for what he thinks is right and to publish good and bad news without fear or favor. And I think for me, it's the accolades and all that just show that it's also become a bit rare in our days that someone, takes up a role, does it for a decade, and retires, to accolades. Many times people have challenges, issues, etc. And just want to felicitate with Dr. Kali as he's finished his term of service at MBS.
As a chairman, I am the chairman of the board, and we have the board. We make policy, which the management should be able to implement. There are two types of relationship. One, there are certain things that it's mandatory for the management to carry out. There are certain things that it is only advisory to the management. If they want, they can take it. If they don't want, they will not take it. But with the mandatory things, they must take it. So on all those aspects, our relationship has been very fair, very good, because there was no single day we have any misunderstanding between board and the management.
I met Dr. Kali about, I think, 2019, which is, it means it's not too long, and we've not been able to do so much together because of the pandemic. But the little I know about him is that, one, I see him as a gentleman whose stature betrays his capacity, his capability, and his sense of diligence. From opinions, from past records that I have been able to go through, and from comments of prominent Nigerians, there is no doubt about the fact that a lot of transformation has actually taken place. And one way for you to observe that is the fact that National Bureau of Statistics is now very visible in the country. There is a high presence of mind, and you also observe that in government policies, government administration, National Bureau of Statistics is always on the board to offer, their professional knowledge and expertise.
I knew him long ago, though in a distance, through a common friend of ours, Alhaji Zarewa, in Ministry of Finance. Even at that time that I knew him in a distance, I could see the leadership quality and the leadership potentiality in him. And then when he came on to the bureau and we were appointed to be on the board, we came quite close, face to face to say with one another.
In addition, Kali is a member of the World Economics Association, UK Royal Economic Society, and a fellow of the UK Royal Statistical Society. He is also a fellow of the Nigerian Statistical Association and a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Administration and Researchers of Nigeria, amongst others. As a person, Kali is selfless and responsible in his conducts.
I have been working on Nigeria, especially with the National Bureau of Statistics, on different projects for the past 5 years. And it has been a great experience working with Dr. Kali, especially in making a difference in the data landscape of the country, improving on data quality, and improving on the capacity of the NBS team, as well as improving on the data quality and access to data in Nigeria. So this has been a very fruitful experience working with him in all these areas. So I'm really happy to know him as a person, as a professional, and most importantly, as a leader.
We work very closely with Dr. Yemi Kali. He's a dedicated professional. He cares a lot about Nigeria and what's important for Nigeria's development. He's also very knowledgeable about the country, the political economy, and about statistics in particular, which of course makes him an excellent partner. We work closely in a range of things. We do analysis together. He's very supportive of the work that the World Bank does as well. And in that regard, what else I can say, that he's very methodic in his approach. He's open to new ideas. He likes to hear about what's going on in other countries and what can be done to improve statistics in Nigeria. And overall, I think if I have to summarize it, is that he's very rigorous in the work that he does, but he also knows that it is very important to have statistics and to have work done on a timely manner. So he balances that very well, the fact that we need robust work, but we also need to finish it on time to getting things done. So that's my impression of him, someone who's very professional.
MBS under Dr. Kale has achieved reputation as a good service provider, a fantastic public institution that has given good service to the country for purposes of information, data, for planning, for policy development, and for private sector.
When I look at leaders, especially public leaders, I think in terms of three important attributes that I believe when a leader has them, they would most of the times make the right call in the place of leadership for all. And so these three things are character, competence, and capacity. I judge, I evaluate on the basis of how much a person exemplifies these core attributes of leadership. And so when I think of Dr. Kale, he checks all the boxes in terms of the character, competence, and capacity. And since I met him and began to follow his work and became a close friend of his, I have seen that play out many times. He has given of himself to Nigeria. He's worked for the common good. And that for me is the key thing about being a public leader.
In the last 4 years, I've had close interaction with Dr. Yemi Kale. My perspective of him is that he's a very highly intelligent, hardworking, conscientious, diligent, and very focused young man who has deployed his brilliance and talent to build the National Bureau of Statistics into a very credible in the last 10 years.
He is a wonderful human being. I haven't met such kind of a person in my life. I've worked in a bank as area manager for about 10 to 12 years before I retired and joined the board. He's quite humane, very attentive in listening to their issues and our contributions, and he's an unassuming gentleman. In fact, I wish I could be like him.
Yemi Kale may not have been the first to be appointed as the head of the statistical agency, but his achievements are phenomenal. Some of his giant strides can be appreciated in the following key areas amongst others: general administration and human resources development, coordination of the statistical system in Nigeria, statistical surveys and data development, ICT and infrastructural development, data management, dissemination and access, development of administrative statistics, and lots more.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, on assumption of duty in 2011, Dr. Yemi Kale took his time to design a robust program that will help to transform the statistical landscape, not just in MBS, but in the Nigerian statistical system in general. And so in doing so, he took into cognizance the fact that we needed to have a competent manpower in place, we needed to have the required infrastructure in place, we needed to have better welfare, and of course we needed to also ensure that the working environment is conducive. And so with all these things, for us to achieve our mandate, he made sure that they were all put in place. And that is why today in Nigeria, we are proud of him that he has truly transformed the statistical landscape in terms of both production as usual of faith.
Kale, I consider a friend. a very, very serious-minded and thoroughbred professional economist. He has a very clear grasp of statistical methods and the policy implications of a broad range of the data that is produced by the National Bureau of Statistics. He comes across as very knowledgeable about the requirements for generating accurate statistics in a developing country like Nigeria. And he also understands the challenges of ensuring that data is credible and usable. And he has clarity on how to overcome some of the challenges that come with generating such data. And because of that clarity, he's able to defend the integrity of the data generated by the NBS under his leadership.
In the days of Dr. Yemi Kale, he has done very well in closing some significant data gaps. One, in terms of data that used to be scarce or weren't provided in the past, I would say that the MBS under him was able to capture certain sectors that were previously not important in the economy, or perhaps not much of them happened in the economy, but today are very important. An example is data on telecommunications.
Yemi's achievements at the Bureau may not be fully appreciated without running a retrospect of what obtained in the NBS before he came into the saddle. The former Federal Office of Statistics, FOS, the precursor to the NBS, was known for its large bureaucracy and weak data quality. The website was virtually never updated on a timely basis. The best they could produce were three main annual reports, namely GDP, inflation, and unemployment. The agency then relied on paperwork and other forms of analog systems for their surveys. They moved into the survey field with sheets of paper to record their figures for onward transfer to the headquarters. At this stage, most of the data may not be touched for analysis, and the ones touched were grossly prone to errors. Mistakes were not easily detected. It is interesting to note that some of the data results were cooked. This made the release figures not reckoned with by various policymakers.
I remember in the mid-80s when I was working on my PhD thesis, what is now the National Bureau of Statistics was then known as the Federal Office of Statistics. And studying abroad and trying to work on Nigeria was a very Herculean task. Getting access to data, I wouldn't say it wasn't impossible, but it was very close to that. Indeed, I remember at that time, my greater reliance for data was on multilateral institutions and also the library of the London School of Economics, because there you could get all manner of gazettes out of Nigeria that coming back home became very difficult to get. And so my own very early recollection of data, of access to good quality, reliable, timely, consistent data about Nigeria, from Nigeria, especially from the Bureau of Statistics, wasn't a particularly memorable one. Since Dr. Kale has taken over the reins, I think he has worked to improve a whole host of things. Certainly, the position of the what is now the National Bureau of Statistics in the public, in terms of its public standing, has improved tremendously, and especially in the standing of those of us who are actual professional users of the output.
Yemi Kale, to me, is a man of absolute integrity, courage, and principled. And he brought those personal characteristics to bear on the office and the institution of the Nigerian National Bureau of Statistics. Before his time, not only was data sparse, it was unreliable and it was infrequent. So what he has brought to the table is one, punctuality, integrity of data, and reliability for those who want to use it.
Dr. Yemi Kale, the SG of National Bureau of Statistics for the past 2 years now. I have known him to be a very simple, honest, humble, and a kind gentleman. He is a dedicated, hardworking Nigerian. He's an excellent public servant and a first-class technocrat with a creative bent and passion for excellence. He is a man of few words and more of actions. Of these 2 years I've known him, he has been very, very, very committed to making sure Nigeria have the best of statistics.
With this support at different times from his supervising ministers, namely Dr. Samshuddin Usman, Senator Udo Udoma, Hajia Zainab Ahmed, and of course Prince Clement and all other staff of MBS, Kale expanded the scope of the agency's activities and set annual timelines for data release through a calendar. He successfully reversed the lack of energy in data gathering and other accompanying inadequacies at the Bureau without succumbing to any form of intimidation or political interferences to manipulate data. He was resilient and showed high level of integrity in his conduct. He would rather lose his job than falsify data.
Yemi Kale, as a Statistician General of the Federation, always stands his ground. Even his minister cannot force him to change any information as far as statistics is concerned.
There are instances when the economy is looking bad and people don't want you to go and announce that to the world. But then you tell them, there are instances that have been at the Federal Executive Council, not necessarily now, in the past, where I've had to tell the President, Your Excellency, allow us to tell you the truth with these numbers. Because if you want to solve the problems of Nigeria, deceiving yourselves and attempting to deceive the Nigerian public that are not even deceived anyway, is not helping anybody to improve or develop the country.
Kale drew a master plan that made him achieve his mandates. Kale worked on staff motivation by implementing new scheme and conditions of service. He introduced new salary structure similar to that of research institutes in Nigeria. He also recruited over 500 professionals cutting across different fields. The Bureau conducted junior and senior staff promotion exercises between 2012 and 2021, in which 665 staff sat for the exams respectively, while 22 other staff members were either converted or upgraded. It is interesting to note that the MBS under Kale invested so much in capacity building in various areas of statistics, information and communications technology to meet with the daunting challenges of producing quality, comprehensive, and timely data. He never compromised staff professionalism as he employed higher percentage of technical staff compared to support staff.
If you also talk about staff welfare, he has done a lot to improve on the quality of staff that we have in MBS. He has improved in the number and quantity of training that is made available to our staff in all cadres that we have in the office. In terms of promotion, I don't think we have enjoyed promotion more than what we have gotten under Dr. Yemi Kale. Before, you can be hearing sometimes like you are qualified but not ready. People will be qualified to write promotion but it will not come up. But under Dr. Yemi Kale, as you are due for promotion, you will be writing it, and I don't see people mass failure because everybody is up and doing, and it bring everybody to the highest quality that you can achieve in the office. So promotion has been regular and it has been all encompassing for all categories of staff. Also in terms of encouraging people to achieve what they desire. He is somebody that doesn't deny you opportunity to move forward. If you want to go for a course, study course, and you approach him, he will willingly approve it for you. So for staff welfare, it's also there. We have achieved, we have enjoyed that tremendously over the past 10 years that under his leadership.
Kale also built a staff welfare canteen and clinic for use. On coordination of the national statistical system of the country, Dr. Yemi Kale developed a framework for an improved and better coordinated statistical system through the synchronization of statistical production of state statistical agencies, federal ministries, departments and agencies with the program of web-enabled device for a seamless flow of data from MDAs and SSAs throughout the Federation.
I mean, data is absolutely key, particularly in managing any economy. There's a saying that what isn't measured can't really be managed. And so NBS provides a lot of the management, the measurement, which is needful to effectively manage the economy. As I said earlier, over the past 10 years, NBS has grown massively in terms of the credibility of the data that they produce, and that's a fact that has been internationally recognized, and that's why, unlike in the past when some of these international organizations would try and send in their own people to procure data here or go through all kinds of other means or look to other data providers, they all look to NBS now, and even when they require specific data that NBS does not currently generate, they're all happy to engage NBS and procure NBS services to generate the data or analyze whatever data for them. That's how much NBS has grown in credibility.
NBS recorded tremendous progress in the area of information and communications technology, ICT. NBS under Dr. Kale shifted completely from paper survey to the use of GPS-enabled computer systems using the Computer-Assisted Personal Interview (CAPI) for face-to-face data collection. This reduces the stress of going about with paper and pen for data collection. Since the devices are GPS-enabled, the location of the data collector can be seen and their data inputs are received and monitored in the Situation Room by the Business Intelligence Unit responsible for real-time monitoring of data collection. The use of satellite imagery was also deployed to select samples, especially in crisis-prone regions. Dr. Kale's NBS established call center for web and telephone data capturing. Telecoms agencies were partnered for optimal results. GSM devices were used to call respondents for answers to questions put across to them. This was very useful during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. There was upgrading of web-enabled data capture system for the production of statistics at the state level. Kale also effected the development of data processing centers at the NBS zonal offices. On subnational statistical development, NBS under Kale's watch facilitated the establishment of States Bureau of Statistics with the enactment and passage of state statistical edicts in about 28 states, with statistician general or directors taking charge. Kale connected key line MDAs such as Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources and Finance, Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Customs Service to the National Data Center (NDC) at the National Bureau of Statistics. He fully computerized the National Bureau of Statistics operation with over 600 personal computers connected on local area network at the NBS headquarters and virtual private networks to ensure seamless flow of statistical information among statistical producing states. Prior to Dr. Kale's becoming the chief executive of MBS, limited copies of data were published as hard copies because of paucity of funds and poor technology infrastructure. Dr. Kale revamped the agency's website to house all MBS micro and macro level survey sector data that can be reached by all users of statistics all over the world. Reports were published on timely basis, and this helped to reach out to several people as at when ready without delays. It has also helped to reduce the cost of producing data, especially when funds are not readily available. It is estimated that the web portal enjoys an average of 4 million visits and downloads annually, as opposed to 5,000 hits in 2005. It also has over 50,000 followers on the agency's social media handles. Every year, a data release calendar is published by the MBS to show the expected release dates for all reports and data collection activities so as to help their numerous users and subscribers plan effectively. In a bid to enhance the quality of data, NBS embarked on a comprehensive methodology review for computing macroeconomics and socioeconomics indicators, a process that partly culminated in the rebasing of the gross domestic product (GDP) estimates for the nation. The NBS, under the irrepressible Kale, made Nigerians to know the true state of the economy and resisted any attempt to be cowed into manipulation of data. A good example was when he released the unemployment data, which never went well with the Ministry of Labor and Productivity. Dr. Kale stood firmly by his figures and challenged anyone in doubt to visit the agency for first-hand verification of the survey process. And by this, his strongest critics became one of the Bureau's advocates. In recognition of the sterling performances of NBS under Yemi Kale's watch, the agency has several awards and recognition to show for it. Amongst them are National Productivity Order of Merit Award by the Nigerian President, Best Public Institution Award by Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Integrity Idol Award by Accountability Lab, Good Governance Award by Center for Ethics, Patron Award and Best Football Institution Award for MBS by Federation of Public Service Games, Special Institution of the Year Award by Finance Correspondents Association Award, Public Sector Star Website Award by Nigerian Internet Registration Association. The increase in statistical awareness and the relevance of the MBS to the socio-economic development of Nigeria cannot be overemphasized under the watch of Dr. Yemi Kale. This is evident in the various recognition of MBS through Dr. Yemi Kale in many strategic policy-making committees. This has also given room to the regular monthly invitation and presentations to the Presidential Economic Advisory Council headed by Dr. Doyin Salami, the Federal Executive Council, and other partner or supporting agencies such as the CBN, SDG, and lots more.
They demonstrated so much capacity, so one zeal to coordinate all the key actors in national statistical system. Well, also SDG, my office relationship with the NBS started with a technical partnership in the conduct of SDG indicator-based line survey and eventually the alignment of national statistical data system with the requirement of an indicator of the sustainable development goals. Our relationship spanned over 5 years since I came in, and been a very important agency of government, one of the key actors in the course of this achievement of sustainable development. And playing so much very critical role.
The statistics it produces is respected. It's respected by the market. It's respected by international donor agencies. It's respected by governments. You know, before now we used to have disparate data coming out of what was then the National Planning Commission, the Central Bank, the National Bureau of Statistics, and you never knew which one to take. Now everybody knows that the if you want to rely on government statistics, it is the one that comes out of the National Bureau of Statistics that you should rely on.
Some of MBS partners and support agencies give their perception on MBS under Yemi Kale in the last 10 years.
I've been enjoying a partnership with Dr. Kale for many, many years. We've been actually working with the National Bureau of Statistics for almost 2 decades now. And since Dr. Kale has been in the lead at the NBS, we have seen a lot of projects jointly. We've conducted jointly a major drug use survey with the NBS in 2017 and 2018. And in 2018-2019, we conducted the second national corruption survey. So these are the main two major research endeavors that we undertook jointly under the leadership of Dr. Kale. We also went together to present the results of some of those surveys in international fora. And we've been enjoying a very strong and vibrant partnership throughout.
In 2016, NBS was already under Yemi Kale, under Dr. Yemi Kale, was his second term was starting. He has done, already a lot. Remember, he had rebased the GDP. There were a lot of statistical reports that were there unpublished. And I think during my time from 2020, there were even more reports that came out. I think there was about 20 reports before, and then it came out, and you would find, commodity price index, agricultural survey, air traffic. We had also very useful information on fuel prices. GDP per state was also added later on. Whereas, before we used to have GDP, CPI, and all of that. And at the same time, a lot of the methodology was being improved. So GDP rebasing, how we get from quarterly GDP, how do we get to the expenditure approach to estimate GDP, and then on the CPI, how to rebase. All of that was happening under the guidance of Dr. Yemi Kale.
Dr. Yemi Kale's 10 years leadership at the NBS ended in August 2021 and had since handed over to the new Statistician General, Dr. Simon Harry, who is expected to not only continue from where Yemi Kale stopped, but also seek ways to even surpass its track records. Yemi Kale may have ended his tenure at the NBS, but memories of his exemplary and sterling performance will continue to linger in the minds of Nigerians and statistical community for a very long time. We wish Dr. Oyeyemi Kale the best in life.